so many of us love these characters so much.
You're just like me, Henry.
Because of this.
I got you still on.
Their friendship is aspirational.
Yeah, I miss my best friend too.
To treasure their relationships, to treasure their connections, has always been a mark of a fully developed, well-rounded man.
I love you, man.
What I want is to have those friends. Hello and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I'm Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy.
I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies, and this
Is a demo dog.
a domesticated demodog.
Welcome to the Upside Down.
Stranger Things content.
boy.
Woo! What are we doing today?
We are going to talk about Stranger Things and masculinity.
Ooh.
There's a lot of boys and men in this show, and they learn things. Most of them. Some of them don't, and
yeah.
then they die a horrible death.
Or they learn as they're dying.
Yes, sometimes that happens.
Yeah, healthy masculinity is like the right side up.
And toxic masculinity is the upside down. It's
Yeah.
like healthy masculinity, but the opposite, and there's weird crap floating around, and vines might grab you.
And before you say masculinity is not toxic, we agree. Toxic is an adjective, and we're using it to describe masculinity that is harmful or how men are socialized to be that hurts them and others.
The masculinity is not the toxic part. The toxicity is the toxic part. Thank you for joining us for this grammar lecture.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
We're going to be mostly focused on healthy masculinity, like you were saying, lots of great examples.
Lots of great examples in this show. I think we're going to focus on a couple of traits, and we're going to start with strength.
Okay.
So there's plenty of examples of the healthy masculinity version of strength, which is
Using your strength to help others or protect yourself or protect other
defend,
people.
right.
Never to take advantage of or to harm maliciously.
or dominate.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Can you think of any negative examples from the show?
Billy, he's really
Billy
like,
basically every time he's doing anything right until
he saves Max.
his final scene.
The Billy we see for the most of the show is aggressive. He's dominant. He uses force or intimidation to get his way and to keep people in line.
We see some less positive examples from Hopper at the beginning of the show. So what are some straight up positive examples of a man in the show or a boy in the show using their strength in a positive, uplifting, masculine way?
I think Sean Astin, in anything he does, is a beacon of positive
Masculinity
So,
pretty much everywhere, yeah.
in the Hawkins lab, when he volunteers to go turn on the computers and to get everybody out,
Sure.
and he's got to make his way through danger and he's got to fight off the demodogs.
Well, and that's a great example of he's got strength, but his strength is not necessarily brawny physical strength.
Right.
His strength is...
his intelligence and his know-how.
So another great one that's not necessarily physical strength, but clearly a character strength, Dustin.
Yeah.
He's super smart, right?
Yeah.
So he's the one who's figuring out the radios. Starting from season 1, he's helping build the isolation tank
Yeah.
for Elle. He's constantly figuring things out.
How many times do I have to be right on the money before you guys just trust me?
And sometimes being a little condescending about it.
Jesus Christ, this kid's gotta get his ego in check.
It's his tone, right?
But he's always using his strengths to help the party.
Yeah.
That's just a constant for Dustin. He's always doing that.
If we're going physical strength, I'd go with Steve and his nail bat.
So Steve all the time, right?
Yeah.
Steve and his nail bat. Steve and his I'm a champion swimmer.
How effectively he uses his strength is up for debate.
That one stung.
I do love when he fights Billy because it's our unhealthy masculinity and our healthy masculinity going toe to toe.
Yeah. Well, guys, spoiler alert. The party survives. Mike tells a great story about how they move on with their lives and pursue education and careers, and Max.
Yeah, pursue Max. They don't have to be trapped in Hawkins fighting Vecna forever.
And you don't have to be trapped in a career that fills you with the dread of fighting a meat flap monster face thing for the rest of your life.
Or even just a career that doesn't fulfill you.
Southern New Hampshire University can help you stop feeling stuck and start building the future you want.
Today's sponsor, SNHU, is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States.
With some of the most affordable tuition rates in the nation.
Their programs are extremely flexible.
Wow.
I know.
And help you gain real-world experience, like being able to touch your own back.
You know, we've heard from a lot of you that you're interested in studying psychology.
And SNHU has bachelor's and master's degrees in psychology.
With several specialty areas, including mental health, addiction, and child and adolescent development.
They've even got forensic psychology.
Honestly, I feel like maybe Nancy would enjoy that one.
You're probably right. And if psychology isn't for you, they've got a ton of degrees in other fields as well.
It's never too late to pursue something you love. Go to snhu.edu/cinematherapy to explore over 200 degree programs and find your way forward.
It could be your path out of the upside down of corporate America.
Or your mom's basement. The coolest example of this for me is when Will finally steps into his power.
This is one of the most badass cinematic moments I think ever put on film. Man, the CG in this sequence,
Yeah.
on the demos, but also all of the, background and all that. This shot. Oh! Come on! Okay, I am probably gonna tear up just from sheer awesomeness overload, because that's a thing that happens to people, right?
I think it's the filmmaking.
But everything about what's happening here, his posing, the production design of everything, the visual effects of the demos, and the score, and especially the editing. Every cut is flawless in this entire sequence.
And then I love that he does to these Demogorgons what Vecna has been doing to innocent kids.
Boom! Oh! Okay, we're gonna have to blur that. We're gonna have to blur that so much. Oh! Let's go! Oh! Okay, sorry. That's again, I'm tearing up, and it's just from the total badassness. Because that's badass. What? Anyway, we're not here to judge. And obviously, later in the season, he gets to be even more strong, but that moment, that entire sequence is one of the best visualizations I've ever seen of what does it mean to take your strength.
Yeah.
Because he's literally stealing the power from the guy who abused him.
Yeah.
And turning it back on him and smashing things.
Yeah.
And doing it to protect the people he loves.
Yeah. And we know that fear can be paralyzing. It can also lead you to panic and not make wise decisions because you're not thinking clearly. And the whole fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? And he's fighting, but he's not fighting blindly. He's not fighting panicked. The thing that helps us through our fears, as so brilliantly demonstrated here, is focusing on what's bigger than the fear, what matters more than the fear. Him focusing on these connections, it's not just I'm loved and I'm accepted, which is beautiful and also part of Will stepping into his power. It's him reminding himself of what's bigger than the terror he's feeling right now. Yeah. And that's how he finds the bravery. Well, and speaking of Will and his fight response to trauma, we talk all about trauma responses in Stranger Things in a deep dive Patreon exclusive episode that you can get, again, only on our Patreon right now.
Next trait that I want to talk about a bit, we have a zillion examples of this in Stranger Things, emotional vulnerability.
Yes. We also have a million counterexamples where immature male characters are afraid to open up, or they're afraid of getting hurt, or they're afraid of being rejected, and that's all very natural. That lands more in limiting masculinity than toxic masculinity, but it's like boys don't cry, boys don't express their feelings, boys don't... We see this a lot, for example, with Mike when he's struggling to tell Elle he loves her.
So can we please just come up with a new plan because I love her and I can't lose her again?
What's going on?
Nothing.
Just family discussion.
We see it with Steve, trying to overcome kind of the programming he's gotten. Right? And we see it a lot with Hopper trying to overcome A, the programming, B, probable PTSD from serving in Vietnam.
And the loss of his daughter.
The loss of his daughter, and not losing, but losing his marriage, right?
Yeah. Hopper is a character who is like a lot of men who show up to therapy, where they see the need for emotional vulnerability. They see how leading with anger isn't working, because that's exactly what Hopper was doing with his parenting with Eleven. He's very warm and affectionate until there's conflict.
Right.
Once there's conflict, once there's a disagreement, Then he cracks down the hammer of authority, male authority, parental authority, fatherly authority.
Maybe the best example of this is in season 3 when he's going to have the talk with
Yeah.
Mike and Elle, right?
Yeah. He sees the need to do something different. He just doesn't know how.
Well, and he even approaches Joyce and like, how do I do this?
Exactly.
And he gets a whole playbook and throws it out. Because it's not in his toolkit.
No, but the letter he writes later on the back of it, that's freaking beautiful. There are times, though, throughout the series where Hopper does, once that dam is kind of broken and he's been raw and vulnerable with Elle, and that's rewarded with increased closeness and trust, he says, oh, I can keep doing this. Yeah. And I will say this is true for all people, but especially maybe with men and how men are socialized to be closed off and to not be vulnerable and to not be tender-hearted. One of the best things you can do with the men in your life, or with yourself if you are a man, or if you're raising sons, or whatever it is, reward it.
Yes, reward the men in your life for emotional vulnerability. Don't make fun of it. Like, we tease each other sometimes on the show, generally not when we're being emotionally vulnerable. We give each other crap, because that's
college roommate energy.
It's what we do. But one thing that, in particular for me, I get emotional on this show a lot.
Yeah.
And what Jono is doing right now is he rewards it. And he always does, and he always has.
Yeah.
This didn't start with the show. This started with our friendship in college.
Yeah.
I could get emotional, and it didn't make him uncomfortable. It didn't make him feel weird. He didn't lash out. He didn't make fun. He didn't whatever. He accepted it, and he was comforting, and he was a friend.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do with the men in our lives. And that's if you're a man or if you're a woman. If a man is open and emotional and vulnerable, reward it.
Yeah. Show that when you do this, when you open up, it is not something to be feared, and it will lead to increased closeness and increased trust.
Yes.
Another good example is Eddie telling Dustin just how much he loves him. Of
yeah.
course, he's dying.
Yeah, we don't have to wait till we're dying, guys. You can express emotions like that. Not in a life or death situation.
I just think of how many manly movies, like, men get emotional when they're dying, and I'm like, why wait? Come on.
Come on.
And a good example of not waiting is Steve and Dustin.
Hey, Dustin?
Yeah.
Hey, about some of the stuff that I said earlier.
It's okay.
No, just... It's not okay.
Accountability.
Eddie. He saved your life. Our lives. And I know what he meant to you. I can't even imagine how hard it's been. But instead of just being there for you, I got angry about it. I guess I got angry because things were different. Because I really missed you. I missed my best friend.
Yeah, I miss my best friend too.
Does anybody watching this think they are less manly now? No. So I agree with you. I love this scene. And it doesn't hurt that they're holding Rambo knife spears.
Yeah, it's, you know, like, hey, we're manly still.
We're still manly.
We're going to go stab stuff.
But so many beautiful things here, from Steve's accountability to his raw vulnerability of just expressing, I love you and I miss you. Dustin giving genuine praise on Steve's plan. You know, only a genius could have thought of that. And Steve turning around, I learned from the best. The things that we were trained, especially us growing up in the 80s, like, you have to understand, we relate to this because this was our era.
This was our childhood, yeah.
Yeah. This is a big deal because we were taught as kids, this is mushy, this is sissy.
Yep.
You don't open up like this. And that was harmful.
Yeah.
That was harmful for men in their friendships. That was harmful for men in their dating relationships. That was harmful for men as parents who were parenting children. And it was harmful for the people in men's lives. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're fighting the good fight over here, trying to, like, dismantle all that crap and show this isn't mushy. This isn't sissy.
Being vulnerable is manly as
Yeah.
It takes way more strength than hiding or suppressing your emotions to be raw and vulnerable and tell your friend that you miss them.
Yeah. Next, we're going to talk about respecting women. So some of the upside down masculine versions of this. Again, we're back to Billy.
Billy, yep.
Billy, the way he demeans Max and talks down to her.
The way he objectifies
Mrs. Karen Wheeler.
Karen Wheeler. Ugh.
And sure, the fact that she's kind of drawn to it doesn't change the fact that it's harmful.
Sure.
Some other not so great examples is Steve early on when he gets jealous of Nancy and Jonathan, even though there's nothing going on at that point.
He lets his friends call her a slut.
Yeah.
And, like, put the thing up on the,
And he actively participates in bullying Jonathan and then bullying Nancy. But to Steve's credit, he turns it around and there's no like big event. I mean, I guess Jonathan kicks his ass, but like if Steve were a toxic character, Jonathan kicking his ass would only have led him to...
It would lead him to double down on it, right? He'd turn into more of a bully.
Yeah, and I'm going to come after you harder. I love that Steve changes, and what's the big impetus for Steve changing? It's not a plot point, it's just his internal compass.
Yeah, he feels yucky about it.
Yeah.
And we see that from the very beginning. Like, as these things are happening, he's letting them happen and sometimes encouraging them to happen. But the filmmakers do a great job of always lingering on him after the thing, and you see the...
We do have a lot of characters, including Steve as he evolves, who show great respect for women, including Lucas.
Yeah, Lucas starts from a position of respect with Max. You know, he's so impressed with Mad Max's scores and, oh my gosh, she's a skater and she's so cool. But that broadens and deepens and really turns into a full-blown love by season 4. And then season 5 just standing by her even when she's not there.
Yep.
It's really impressive how much respect he has for Max.
Hopper reminds me of my older brother, because my older brother is one of the softest, gentlest, good men I know. My brother's 6'4", he played basketball in high school, and he's a big, strong guy. And my brother, like Hopper, was very rough around the edges growing up and into his 20s, but my brother got married. And then he had, with his wife, 5 girls.
Oh, yeah.
And with every girl, it was like an arrow hitting Boromir. He just slowed down a little more and a little more and stopped fighting so much.
His toxicity died.
His aggression died.
Okay.
I see this with Hopper as well. His interactions with Elle and with Joyce are fraught with... Early on, this man has inherited some messages, maybe from his upbringing, definitely from his time in the military, and just being a man in the 80s, that are slowly being undone because he has these interactions with Joyce and with Elle that he leads with anger, he leads with dominance, he tries to bully or intimidate, and neither Elle or Joyce are going to have it.
Right.
And in fact, he pushes them away with those behaviors, so he has to like start over and learn accountability, learn humility, learn vulnerability, learn just to speak his mind. And the more he does it, I love where he gets by the end of the series, because the love between him and Elle and the love between him and Joyce is just free.
Yeah.
It's not burdened by any of this bull crap.
And it takes 2 completely different paths, right?
Yeah.
Like one of them, obviously, he ends up with Joyce. It's great. It's a beautiful scene.
Yeah.
And with Elle, he lets her go.
Yeah.
He knows what decision she has made and he lets her make it, even though it's going to hurt him.
I think it's beautiful that it's exactly because he's honoring her choice. The moment she says, I'm not a child anymore and I love you, you have to trust me to make the right choice.
Yeah.
He lets her go. And that's awesome. So don't try to control the women in your lives, men, because you will suck and we will hate you.
And maybe one of the best examples of that, in particular, is at the end of season 4 when Mike finally gets over his, limited masculinity and his just fear in general and maybe a little bit of weakness, and is strong enough to tell Elle that he loves her.
Yeah.
Elle, I don't know if you can hear this, but if you can, I want you to know I'm here, okay? I'm right here. And I love you. Elle, do you hear me? I love you. I'm sorry I don't say it more. It's not because I'm scared of you. I'm not. I've never felt that way. Never.
Just
I am scared that one day you'll realize you don't need me anymore. And I thought that if I said how I felt, it would somehow make that day hurt more. But the truth is, Elle, I don't know how to live without you. I feel like my life started that day we found you in the woods. You're wearing that.
Honestly, this is just great writing.
And it was so big it almost swallowed you whole.
Is it realistic that a 16-year-old boy is this emotionally mature and understands this much about himself? Probably not.
every day since.
I don't know, but Mike's a sensitive kid. I was
Mike's a very sensitive kid, and these are exactly the emotions that a 15-year-old would feel.
I love you for exactly who you are. You're my superhero. And I can't lose you.
I love you on your good days, I love you on your bad days, I love you with your powers, without your powers. That is beautiful writing, and also something that we haven't really hit on. There are men who are intimidated if the woman they are with is their superior in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
11 is a legitimate superhero.
She's also really smart.
And really courageous, and even when she doesn't have superpowers, like...
She has some anger issues.
Yeah. That's why he's like, I'm not scared of you. I'm like, you did watch her bash a girl's face in with a roller skate, so maybe be a little scared. But you know what? Just don't bully her, and you'll be fine. But one of the things I do love about Mike is that he's got this woman who is an absolute superhero, who is his superior in many ways.
Yeah. In many of the like most important manly ways.
Yeah.
Right? She's stronger. She can do more strength things because she has superpowers.
And I love that all of her strengths, he celebrates them.
Yeah.
He's her biggest cheerleader. He's not threatened by them. But what's great here is she needs my love. She needs my support. She needs me to be the heart, the glue. And so I'm going to push through like whatever's going on with me to be that for her. All right, now let's just talk about the party. The D&D party, our 4 core guys that we started with, because we're with them from the beginning of the show to the end of the show.
Yep.
And I want to explore how they demonstrate healthy male friendship and what that looks like.
What do you want?
I drew first blood, so...
Which is literally a Rambo reference.
Yep.
Lucas.
Okay. I'll shake. On one condition. We forget the weirdo and go straight to the gate.
Then the deal's off.
Fine!
Fine! No, not fine. Guys, seriously? Holy shit.
So this is a progression through several episodes of the show, but like...
Awesome. It was awesome.
When she flipped the van, it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Everything I said about you being a traitor and stuff, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Accountability kink.
I'm sorry.
It's not that hard.
Friends don't lie.
It feels scary, but listen, 95% of the time,
It's rewarded.
you're gonna get that.
Me too.
95% of the time, the person wants to make amends. You don't lose face.
And maybe not quite 95% of the time, but a huge majority of the time, they're also gonna apologize. Like, it's gonna be a two-way street, guys, and then you're gonna get a predator handshake.
You son of a b****.
The 80s were problematic, but they were also awesome.
They were also awesome!
Stepping outside of the masculinity thing for a second, I see this across genders with all types of people. The amount of people that I am seeing lately who are absolutely torpedoing their most important relationships because they refuse to admit fault and apologize is staggering. And this is why I have the accountability kink.
Is this like an increase that you're noticing?
I have been noticing an increase like over the past decade or so. I just see this happening a lot. And we need to turn the tide. We need to make it socially not only acceptable, but commendable to recognize I made a mistake just because it may have come from a good place, or maybe it came from a petty, immature place. It doesn't matter. What matters is this matters more than my pride.
Right.
And I want to make it right, and I'm sorry. And there's nothing not manly about that.
Those are some manly-ass little kids. These kids are prioritizing the relationship, right? Dustin is doing it when the two won't talk to each other, and it's always good to have that third-party friend who can be like, you two are being dumb.
Yeah, this is
like
stupid.
it's always great to have that friend. They are being emotionally vulnerable. They're being rewarded for it. And those two things put together means that they are building a stronger bond.
The night in the Zoomer, they retired from battle and they settled down in a small village. With each passing day, their love grows stronger.
Happy endings aren't cheap or unsatisfying.
They take work, but they exist.
Yeah.
Also, I am going to get super emotional, guys.
The bard, craving knowledge, makes his way to the Mages Guild of Enclave, where he spends his days in their vast library.
I know people had issue with the finale, whatever. I loved
His
it.
studies. He still makes time for the occasional
Who doesn't
adventure.
want to see them all happy? Except for Mike and Elle, but we'll get there. This is beautiful. You know how Steve, it wasn't like a quick bro pat hug, like he held
Otherwise,
him.
he travels far and long to the bustling city of Valaki. It's overwhelming at first. So very different from the village where he spent his youth. But it isn't long before he finds his place there. And with that, deep happiness and acceptance.
What's great about Mike is he really sees his friends. They're not
Yeah.
accessories. He knows what they want and need.
Well, and this is the key to being a great storyteller.
Yeah.
What about him? The storyteller keeps telling stories. Stories inspired by his friends.
He goes to the University of Iowa and gets into the writing program.
Of grand adventure will spread far and wide.
They have a great writing program.
Okay. Good to
All
know.
can know of their great bravery. But there is a story that he can never tell. The story of the mage.
So, as we're recording this, this is about 2 weeks after the season finale, the series finale of the show. And it's still, obviously, really raw for me. I know for most of you watching, there's a movie or there's a TV show, there's something that's like a really important show for you, a really important movie for you. And this show was really important for me. This show epitomizes what I want to make. It was fun, and it was scary, and it was joyful, and it was deep. And you got to love these characters. And one of the reasons that so many of us love these characters so much is because of this. Is because their friendship is aspirational.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to fight a demonic power from another plane or demogorgons or all that other stuff. I mean, I kind of do. But, like, I don't really want to, but I kind of, you get it. But what I want is to have those friends.
Yeah.
And I think we all do.
And I think we do. I know you and I have that, and then you and I also have other people in our lives that we share that with. Yeah. You've heard me say love can change form and not be lost. That happens with life. And it is sad. These characters are crying because these times in the basement are done.
They're over.
Yeah. They're over. I mean, they might get together and do it once a year at Christmas. They're all in town and whatever, but like that era is over, and it's bittersweet and it's sad, but how grateful to have it in the first place.
Yeah.
And, that's a message for everybody. But back to our core message of this episode, for men to treasure their relationships, to treasure their connections, has always been a mark of a fully developed, well-rounded man. And you are not diminished in the slightest by crying, by actually holding each other instead of like quick man pat hugs, by showing and expressing what people mean to you. This is not just what it is to be a man, this is life. I think what you're responding to in this scene, this is the good stuff, as Robin Williams calls it in Good Will Hunting. This is what life is all about.
Yeah.
And we need to nurture that. And if we deny ourselves that over some stupid standard of what it means to be a man, we are denying ourselves the richness and the joy of what life can be.
And that is the message of our show. This is a thing you can have. It's a thing you can make.
Yeah.
Do it. Turn off f***ing YouTube and go play D&D with your friends.
Yeah. What Stranger Things content do you want to see from us?
More about masculinity, character deep dives, what's really going on with Billy?
Let us know right down there in the comments. So until next time,
I'm on a curiosity voyage and I need my paddles to travel.
I know that I was a pretty shitty boyfriend, but it turns out I'm a pretty good babysitter.
And watch Stranger Things.
Shout out and thanks to our patrons over on our Patreon who get a very long exclusive version of this episode.
Super long.
Along with an exclusive Trauma Responses in Stranger Things episode on our Patreon right now. Folks like
W,
Patchy,
Christy G,
Sleepy Night Owl,
and Wendy.
Thank you.
Wendy and W are related.